We've been having a number of these. Well, Chamber Chat's been going about 4.5 years, and normally we just do the monthly, but now we've increased the number that we're having, and at least one every week. My name is Nancy Pelton. I'm President and CEO of the Greater Palm Bay Chamber of Commerce. We're thrilled that you're joining us today. Today we have our guest will be Joshua Adams, the head honcho of Rock Paper Simple. And this is coming to you sponsored by Wiederman Malik. We certainly appreciate their support. And on the call today, we have Eric Hostetler. He is attorney at law with Wiederman Malik, and we're going to let him go on first, and then we'll talk about some of the upcoming events, and then I'll get right into it with Josh Adams. So first, we'll turn it over to Eric, and we do have a slide. Oh, look at that. Very nice. So that is coming up, and we'll let Eric then say a few words. We certainly appreciate Wiederman Malik and their sponsorship of today's Chamber Chat. Eric, if you are unmuted, you are good to go.
Hang on 1 second. Okay, it took up my whole screen. 1 second.
Okay. Well, we can hear you, and the slide is up.
Okay, I was trying to remove the slide from the view. There we go. Okay, fair enough. Fair enough.
Okay.
All right, thank you, Nancy.
You're welcome.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Eric Hostetler. I'm an attorney here at Wiederman Malik. We appreciate the opportunity to sponsor today's Greater Palm Bay Chamber of Commerce Chant, especially for such an important topic to businesses, including our firm. The law firm of Wiederman Malik has been serving clients in our community for over 16 years. Whether in times of better or worse, not only is leadership important to our firm internally, but we also counsel our business clients about the importance of using leadership principles to help them prevent creating or worsening a legal crisis for their businesses. We want to help you to avoid legal issues before they arise by helping you use the best practices that are most important for your specific business needs, such as having the right plans, protocols, and contracts in place. However, if an unforeseen problem does happen, we also want to help you avert something even worse. In particular relevance to the current crisis, Wiederman Malik understands the importance of accessibility and communication to employees and clients. As leaders, we know that the latest news and status of what our business is. However, our most important audiences, our employees and our clients, are not always immediately privy to the exact details. As leaders, we need to keep both of our audiences as informed as possible to help remove the unknown from the equation. Otherwise, avoidance and that fear of the unknown can create problems that never have positive results. We also know how vital adaptability is for businesses. What was previously business as usual is no longer the case right now. As leaders, we need to ask our clients and our employees, what can we do for you right now? What do you need? And what issues are you facing? As to what was previously may have been business as usual in the form of assumptions or silence. For instance, the current COVID-19 crisis is unprecedented for most businesses, and Wiederman Malik knows that, as well as the far-reaching impacts it could have on our clients. When dealing with a crisis, complicated issues can be even more confusing, especially when there may be so many issues and mixed messages that you're inundated with. So Wiederman Malik has taken the initiative to offer assistance to our clients and to local small businesses with the process of applying for the SBA loans. Currently, there are 3 programs that are in place. The first is the Economic Injury Disaster Loan, or the EIDL, which is administered directly by the SBA, the Small Business Administration. This loan has a maximum $2 million, which is determined by the SBA. It's fixed at 3.75% for 30 years, and no payments are required for the first 6 to 12 months. Additionally, there is a $10,000 grant associated with this loan that will be received by the applicant regardless if they qualify for the loan or not. Processing time for this loan is roughly around 3 to 4 weeks. But remember, that time is going to be fluid and potentially changing due to the number of applicants. And any loans above 200,000 will require a personal guarantee. The other two programs are the Payroll Protection Program, which is also administered by the SBA. That is a max loan of up to 2.5 months of payroll at a fixed rate of 4% for 10 years and no payment for the first 6 to 12 months. Processing time is roughly 2 to 3 weeks, although that's potentially changing now that these loans are being directly managed by the lenders. And the final program, which is the Main Street Lending Program, is either hasn't rolled out yet or is going to very soon. All we know at this point is that is going to be administered by the Federal Reserve, but other details are not known at this time. And finally, with respect to that, it should be noted while these programs are out there and they're obviously there to assist and are active, the dynamics of the programs are changing as we all go forward, and sometimes these programs are changing daily. We counsel our clients with the most relevant time-sensitive information we have so that they can make the informed decisions as to what is best for their particular situation. So in closing, again, I'd like to thank the Chamber for allowing us to sponsor and to speak this afternoon. If anyone is in need of assistance with the EIDL program, the application, or any other matters related to your business, from contractual issues to employment issues, force majeure clauses, or any other business needs, please don't hesitate to call us at 321-255-2332 or visit us on our website at www.legalteamusa.net.
Well, thank you so much, Eric. We certainly appreciate your sponsorship today. And I know we're working on having somebody from Wiederman Malik on our Chamber Chat next week to talk about cybersecurity. And with everybody working from home, some of the things that they need to be cognizant of so that they are being safe, because we all are used to working in our offices where we do have the security in place, and when you're working from home, that's not necessarily the case. So I think that'll be a very interesting topic. I think we're working on the date, but thank you so much, Eric, for joining us today. We certainly appreciate the sponsorship of Wiederman Malik. And as Eric was discussing, we are, I think it's important to know the SBA is the resource for all of these grants and loans. That if you want to get a lot of the information on bridge loans, it is changing all the time. They are updating information, and sometimes you might have applied for something and you'd rather do something that's one of the new ones, and you can't always stack them. So getting the correct information is important. Speaking to a lawyer is important. There's also the SBA locally here. Their number is 321-433-5570 to talk to one of them about the different options that are available. And WeVenture is also assisting with that, as well as they are an SBA affiliation, and their number is 321-674-7007. So there are a lot of resources out there. Please make sure you're reaching out to the various looking at the different websites and really looking at what is the most important one for your business and what's going to work the best. So coming along, before one last thing before I reach out to Josh, sorry to have you on hold so long, but we want to talk about a couple things that we do have coming up this week. So the Chamber is having a virtual happy hour on Friday. It is our multicultural networking group, open to anybody. So I know, yeah, I wish we could start now, but it's only hump day, so we've got a few more days to go. But on Friday from 5 to 6, if you join our virtual happy hour, bring your own libations and enjoy. So that will be also on a Zoom call. So we'll be able to talk to each other. I know that's probably one of the hardest things about, being at home, is not having that contact with the Chamber. That's one of the things we do, is have events all the time. So we're always looking at, how we can be in touch with our members. So we thought the virtual happy hour with our multicultural networking group is going to be a great one, and that's Friday. And on the 13th, we have the Brevard Business Support Group, and that is all the 4 chambers working together along with We Venture, the SBDC, we've got EDC, Melbourne Main Street. There's a number of us all joining together so that we are sending out information as a group. And so the next one is on the 13th. It's 1 to 2, and it's tax and policy changes for small business. So each chamber is sending out the link. You can sign up from anyone. I'm sure We Venture, I know they are as well. So there's definitely a number of ways to be able to sign up for that webinar. And then our Brevard Business Professionals. So it's always the last Tuesday of the month. We will be doing that virtually with a virtual networking. So make sure you sign on for that. It's the last Tuesday of the month. We're going to make you get up early one day this month. So it's 8 to 9:30. And if you're interested in finding out about the leads groups, they've gone virtual as well. So both of them had theirs for this week. They are every other week. So we'll be looking at in 2 weeks, we'll get the information out. So if you're interested in just checking them out to see what they're all about, then please feel free to join us on that. So without further ado now, I know didn't join to hear all this chat. So, but that's why it's Chamber Chat. But so we have Joshua Adams. I have known him when I first met him, I think was when he was doing trainings on LinkedIn. And I keep joking with him. He looked like he was 12, and he was, explaining to the group of ladies of how we should be doing LinkedIn. And we had no idea about it. And everybody was like, what? And he was just amazing. And from seeing him at that to now his business growing in leaps and bounds. They have their new location that they moved to probably about a year and a half ago, maybe. Is it? Time flies.
Gosh, yeah, we've been at this location for a few years, but we expanded just about a year and a few months ago. We knocked the wall down and expanded to the unit next door.
Nice. So obviously Josh is a leader. He is continuing to show his leadership skills with a new business that they just purchased, I found out. So he can tell us a bit about that. But I will turn it over to you now, Josh. I'll jump in when I have some comments in that. But we certainly appreciate you being on here, because leading in a time of crisis, it really is a difficult time right now, and to keep the momentum going, because we know we're going to be in this for the long haul. So thank you so much.
For sure. Thanks for having me. I think, when you're in times of uncertainty, and this certainly is historic in the level of uncertainty, none of us have ever dealt with this before. And the closest thing to it happened 100 years ago plus. And so we just don't know what's coming. And I think during uncertain times, crises are one thing, but an uncertain crisis where we really don't know what does tomorrow hold? I mean, we kind of do. We kind of have an understanding or an expectation, but uncertainty always breeds fear, no matter how you look at it. It always, always, always has that. And the true danger of crisis, beyond the obvious financial issues, besides some of the other things that come with that, is fear, right? That's what we're dealing with ourselves, with those that we're leading, our team, is really that aspect of fear and combating that. And how do you make sure that doesn't seep in, right? And that's a big part of what I'm going to talk about today. A little bit of background. We're a local marketing agency, a team of 15. That was actually, Nancy, that story you were telling, I think was 14 years ago. I'm pretty sure, yeah, it was, I was 18 at the time. And so I remember at 12, I'll take it, 18, whatever. I was a little skinny green bean back then.
Yeah.
And so, but yeah, no, I remember that. Coming down to, I came down to, I think you were at a different organization at the time, and I came down and visited, and we did some one-on-one consulting. I think actually I did. It was one of my first consulting things. But since then, I've grown Rock Paper Simple. We started Rock Paper Simple in 2013. So it's been about 7 years, and since then we're now a team of 15. Everything from branding to web design, now video. We acquired Mindex Studios. We just announced it this morning. So we did an announcement video and everything, rolled out an updated website, all kinds of fun stuff. So that happened this morning. And it's been in the works for a little bit. And with amidst all of this, it was one of those decisions, another leadership decision that, do we wait? Do we wait to put this announcement out there until after all this calms down a little bit? And we kind of got to the point where our attitude is ever forward. It's keep moving. It's, there's an element of, okay, this is different. This is, how do we adjust? But then at some point, you kind of have to say, you know what, we're going to keep moving forward. And that aspect, that attitude is a lot of what I'm going to talk about today. Ever forward is something that I've said for many, many years. Since before I got into business, it's just kind of a lifestyle, if you will. This attitude, this concept of we'll always move forward no matter what, right? And so a lot of success is just because you kept going. Dave Ramsey says, success is a big pile of failures standing upon. And I can testify to that. I've gone through plenty of failures, plenty of mistakes, and rolled through it. But right now, I want to go through some practical things that you can do as a leader during a crisis, during times of uncertainty, that can rally your team, that can make a difference. And so I'll share a little bit of things we've done, some concepts around that. I'm happy to field questions along and make it dynamic. That's kind of how I tend to do talks anyways. And we'll kind of roll from there. The first thing I'll say is communicating early and communicating often. So as soon as this stuff was starting to roll up, we addressed the whole team, the leadership. We had this conversation. We do alley rallies every Monday morning where our hallway, if you've been in our office, there's this long hallway. We all kind of line up in it and do this kind of what we call our alley rally. And it's just this production meeting, where we're at, where we're going for the week, all of that. And so we did one of those and said, listen, we know that this is scary. We acknowledged, I think it's acknowledging that there is something going on is big. So people understand, hey, yeah, we got this. And then we did a few things. We addressed what was going on. We see this, we see the uncertainty. And this was before the stay-at-home order, before we all started working remotely. It was, we understand there's some uncertainty. We understand you may be worried about your jobs, about where we're going. And that's important because it's that empathetic part of it, the part where you're thinking how they may be feeling, right? So as a leader, we tend to have more information than everyone else has. We should. And when we don't communicate or disseminate that information in a way that matters, people can assume you don't have that information or assume that it isn't there. And so you've got to think, where are people right now? And that was what we were addressing when we had this first meeting. Where are they? How do they feel? Put yourself in their shoes and say, how are they feeling as a team? And how are they feeling individually? And when I was addressing the group, the team that Monday, that's 3-4 weeks ago, I guess, I was thinking, what is this team feeling? But I was also thinking about a few of them in particular that I knew might be thinking a certain thing because I know about background or family or whatever other things are going on. And I'm thinking they might be thinking certain things. How do I lead them? How do I put those fears at ease, or at least give them something to hang on to? Because without that, and this is a good concept, if you don't clarify it, if you don't put to rest a fear or a thought, your team's going to fill in the gaps. Right.
Isn't that the worst part? They make their own assumptions then, and it could be totally wrong.
They will make up their own story. And it was funny because
Right.
that was that meeting. The next meeting, I actually addressed specifically, because we actually had a couple team members that were moving on to other jobs right at the same time, and new team members coming in. And we had to announce that as well. And I even said, listen, I'm just going to put it out there. Nobody's losing their jobs. Like this, people leaving, totally coincidental. Because I know you're going to make up your own story if I don't tell you. Like, and I even just said it. Like, I just put it out there. It's just life. We don't know the whole story. We tend to build a narrative in our head of what we think that story is. And so, circling back to what my point was communicating early, communicating often, and then when you are communicating, the key things are to be empathetic. Think about how your people feel as a group and as individuals. Those would be big things. And then know what's going on, right? Don't go into this meeting unprepared. Go in having done your research, having done your thoughts, right? Where are we at as a business? Where could this go? Before I went into that meeting, I ran my budget. I do an active budget. I have a spreadsheet. It's funny, if you rewind about 3 or 4 years ago, you talk to some of the people over at Ignite at the FIT program, they'll tell you, WeVenture, they'll tell you that I was terrified of budgets. I hated the numbers. I loved what I did, but I hated the numbers. And so I made it my mission about 4 years ago to know the numbers better than anyone. And I run an active budget. I'm in my budget every couple of days. I know where I'm at. I make an adjustment. It adjusts throughout the whole year. I can look into what I think next year's budget looks like at any given time. The reason I say that is when this all started, I went into that budget and I took an axe to it. And I said, all right, what happens if my projections, what happens if we do 25% of our typical project sales in a month, right? What if that happens for 3 months? What happens if that extends out and we do 50% of project sales for the rest of the year? And what happens if we lose 20% of our retainer clients over the next couple months? What if that happens, right? And so thinking worst case scenario here and saying, what happens if this happens? What does that do to my revenue? And then what I did is I went into my budget and went, oh, holy cow, I'm negative in a bunch of places. Where can I adjust? That doesn't mean people lose their jobs. And I did all of that the night before I did this announcement to the team, because then I had to look at the numbers and the facts said nobody would lose their jobs, right? The facts, not just me, empty promise, saying what I'm saying, but actually the numbers said if all this bad stuff happens and I make these budget adjustments and cut things that aren't people and try to protect my vendors and try to protect my team, can I with certainty come to my team and say, hey, just so you know, if the worst happens, if these things happen, we lose some clients, some issues happen, sales stop coming in, your jobs are protected, right? Not guaranteed forever, but for the foreseeable future, I've got your back, right? And I was able to, so what I was saying is come into that meeting prepared, come into that communication prepared. And what I said in that meeting was, listen, there are a lot of things we can cut before I cut people out of this company. This team, one of the first things I did was, I will do everything in my power to protect your jobs. I said that to the team. Nancy, you and I have actually talked about this before, about taking care of the team members and making sure that their salaries are paid before my own even. There have been times that you and I chatted about that. I think about 6 months ago, maybe.
Yeah, we were having that conversation. Yeah, well, and that was one of the things that we did, you know, we were looking at, I did the same thing. I was looking at cash flow, if we got nothing that came in, you know, what that would look like, and being very open and honest with the team, because we're all in this together. And so I wasn't trying to hide numbers. I wasn't trying to, it was like, let's have this conversation. And so we were working, okay, so how far along would we, you know, the budget work? And then, okay, at that point in time, you know, because we run on a very tight budget anyway, like we don't have a lot of excess expense, so there wasn't really anything there we could cut. But the one thing was, you know, to be honest with the team and how long we could all hang in there. And then with this second stimulus package that was adding another $660, I think, or $600 to the $275, it made it more, you know, for us at the chamber, it was more advantageous for some of the team to go that route than to stay at the chamber, knowing though that it was a furlough and not to be, you know, not being laid off. And so that was also an honest conversation that we were having, because I didn't want them thinking that they were staying and work for the chamber for less than what they could be making, which is, you know, sort of a bad thing. But, you know, it also helps the chamber budget knowing that, okay, now we can go to August or September and we're still okay. But that was a team decision. You know, I wanted to be very honest with everybody and say, this is your choice. So what do you think? And so I think both of your comments so far about, you know, continuing to talk early, talk often, be honest and empathy with the team, because I wanted to make sure that, you know, our team are all taken care of, because I mean, I took half salary. We are really, you know, doing what we need to do to keep the team going. So, yeah.
100%. No, I agree. And I think one thing that I was hearing there is treating people like people, right? And how often people aren't treated that way. And so looking at that, and I even told the team directly, I said, I'm going to treat you like people, not employees, right? And we kind of have that dedication at our brand anyways. Our culture is very much team member, and we're all into this together. But they knew that I had their back, and not only was it just words, but they knew that I had a plan, right? And so that was my other point, was to throw out there, was have a plan and make sure your team knows you have a plan. They don't need to know every detail. It's good to know some of it. That what are the milestones, what are the things we're doing, sharing some of that gives confidence. But what gives confidence even more so is your team knowing you've got a plan.
Right.
We're not just riding this out, hoping it passes. We're not hoping we get through it. We're actively getting through it. I have spent more hours poring over spreadsheets over the past few weeks than I have in a long, long time, right? And it's because I'm making sure if this happens, how does that happen? Because I don't want to lay anybody out, and nor do I want to cancel vendors if I can help it. You know, I had a client call, actually a client email saying, cancel everything. And I called them and I said, hey, let's talk about this. I know things are scary and things are panic. You know, we're all feeling the pressure. But if you cancel now, which theoretically my contract says you need to give me 90 days anyways of notice, but I said, I'm not calling to enforce that contract. I'm calling to talk to you as a fellow community member, because right now I'm not worried about profit. I'm worried about protecting my team members' jobs and my vendors and their team members' jobs. So let's talk about this. How are you really? Do you really need to cancel, or do you just need flexibility? Do you just need me to tell you, hey, if you're in a bind, I'll be willing to waive our typical cancellation period and put you on hold for a couple months? Can we talk through this? Or maybe you want to just reduce your expenses a little bit. So we talk through some of this stuff. And at the end of it, he decided not to cancel and just go, you know, say, hey, I'll let you know if we're in a bind. This month he updated me, said we're still good, we're not canceling, but we'll let you know if too many of our clients, you know, hold out on us. And, you know, but to the same token, I have a couple restaurants that we put them on hold. It's fine. You know what? Our contract says that they're supposed to give us 90 days notice and all this stuff. And they're a restaurant in the middle of a pandemic and a lockdown.
Right. Yeah.
I would put them out of, I mean, they couldn't, it's unreasonable. And
Right.
so we've chosen to say, you know what, you're on hold. It's fine. And we've actually in some ways continued to serve them in some ways where we've reached out and assisted with certain things and had dialogue with them and provided that strategic input. And so the point there was, there's a couple clients that can't pay me right now. Right. They just can't. And we're being more flexible with them. And because I've got other clients who can and are willing to stay the course, and we're still serving them, we're still continuing to provide, we're able to offer that grace to these other clients without putting our, does that make sense? Like,
yeah, that's what the chamber's doing. Yeah, we're looking at some of our larger trustees or people that we know haven't been affected to carry us through, while a lot of the people that are totally closed their doors, they're not going to be renewing at this time. But we don't want to lose them as members. And we didn't do just a blanket, you know, we're not sending out renewals for the next 90 days because we have employees and bills that we have to pay. So, and we are still working for everybody. So it's not as if we're not providing our service. But, you know, we're doing the same thing. We're, you know, putting those on hold that aren't able to pay and continuing to do what we do for our members. But those that are, you know, we are asking if they're able to pay, great, or if they want to do some payment plans. It's all about how you're treating your members during this. And, you know, they will remember that going forward. And, you know, hopefully we'll be able to retain a lot of them. We know that sadly some will not open again, you know, and that's a really sad reality. But for the most part, we're hoping that everybody comes through this and you know, they'll be okay on the other side of it. So.
Right. No, I'm with you. You know, we have to balance it, of course, how flexible we, you know, because I've got people to pay too. But I think the overall aspect of this is good communication and thought into it, right? You can communicate well and have nothing to say, right? And it can have no meaning. I mean, I'm sure we've all had that leader in our, you know, who just says things, you know, and you don't really need, is there really any substance behind it? That's why I'm saying, know your numbers, know your plan, and communicate accordingly. You know, there's some things you want to communicate concisely and clearly because the team wants to know. I learned this leadership approach a few years back. We went through a really hard time. It was actually after one of the hurricanes, where things just shut down for a couple months. I mean, for us, it was like no new business. And then all of our existing clients, it was worse than this even because our existing clients actually weren't even moving forward with things. And we didn't get it. It was awful. A couple months of no revenue. It was just really, really bad. And we're a small business. We don't have, I mean, even right now, I don't have enormous amounts of cash just lying there to carry us through this. We've got to generate revenue. And that's just the reality of it. But we went through that. I carried that burden myself. I did not communicate it to the team. We got to the end of the year. I always do bonuses at the end of the year, Christmas bonuses. and I couldn't. I just didn't have the cash. And I told the team, hey, we're in a tight spot. I'm gonna do bonuses in January. That's the best I can do. You know, transparently, this December I didn't even pay myself. This was a few years back, and the year went through. Things came back. The revenue came. We did bonuses. It was awesome. And one of our team members who didn't normally speak up on these kind of things told me about a month or two later when I was being more transparent about what we had gone through. And he says, Josh, I would have liked to have known that because I feel like we could have helped you. I feel like we could have done something, whether it was get a project done faster or it was if we knew that you were struggling with making the ends meet, we could have helped. And that really struck me. And ever since I've been a lot more transparent with the team. And you know that has been something that there's times where, you know what, it's your burden as the business owner, as the leader to carry it. And you get through it and you deal with it. And then there's times where, you know what, being transparent with your team allows them to help, allows them to push through it. And that's really, really a big deal, you know, so.
Absolutely. I'm going to pause here just for a minute to do a couple shout outs to some of the people that have joined us. And just to your last point, I think showing our vulnerabilities to our team members is also important because, you know, we don't have all the answers. We are not the, you know, sometimes they definitely have way better thoughts than I do. I mean, I get some ideas and go off the deep end and they're like, yo Nance, let's bring it back, you know, a bit and stuff like that. So they reel me in, thank goodness. But I think that, you know, being vulnerable and being honest and, you know, having then more ideas absolutely comes up with better solutions. And when they understand what we are going through as leaders, sometimes, you know, we have this impression that we have to be this stoic and can't share that. And I think that that's a bit of a disservice to our members. But I'll do some shout outs, and Caroline, if she sees any on Facebook, because we're live streaming on Facebook as well, and that doesn't show up on the Zoom call. But we have Denise Olson and Beverly Squires Wiggins, and she said some employers don't get this approach and losing the loyalty of their employees because they fail to communicate correctly, so hats off to us. We have Tom Fulmer offering future services at special prices with incentives to generate current revenues can be helpful as well. So restaurants giving gift certificates, salons and spa packages. I think that's one of the things that we were trying to promote for some restaurants. I think they weren't sure about reopening, so there's that conundrum sometimes. I think for the larger ones, absolutely. I think that absolutely makes sense. And for some of the salons, they're not as, some of them aren't as adept at doing a lot of that stuff online, you know what I mean? Because a lot are just their own little business that they might have a chair in the salon. So trying to reach out to their customers for gift certificates to get money coming in right now, it's a challenge. So yeah, if you're able to support the local businesses, that's great. Carolina, do we have anybody on Facebook that you wanted to give some shout outs to?
I just want to mention that Terry Berry is with us, Janice Fox, Joe Roulette, Caroline Cook, Brandon Payne. They are connected. They have not said any questions, but they are there. And I think that some other people, but I don't see their names now.
Okay, great. And I did post the number for the local SBA and We Venture. We'll also get that on the Facebook post as well. So everybody has that. Those guys, freaking rock stars, I have to say. Catherine over at We Venture, she's the new executive director. Talk about trial by fire for a leader. Yeah. But she's just been amazing with her team, Kathy and Val. And then at the SBA, you've got Marty and you've got Sandy Fremer. Oh, Geraldine Blanchard. Oh, she's connected as well. Hi, hey, Geraldine. So those guys really are boots on the ground, the ones that can help you at the SBA. They know all the updated information. They get the information before anybody else and disseminate it to us. So if you are looking for assistance, please call the local numbers. I know if you're trying to go online and call some of the 1-800 numbers, it is a bit of a challenge. So using our local people that you know, it is, I think, a lot more helpful. So just want to do the shout out. We'll continue on. I know we have usually a lot of views on our chamber chat, so we'll let you continue though. This is great information, Josh, and thank you so much. For those of you that just joined us, I'm Nancy Peltonen with the Greater Palm Bay Chamber of Commerce. It's our chamber chat, and Josh Adams, the head honcho of Rock Paper Simple, is giving us some excellent information and tips for how to lead through a crisis. So thank you, Josh. I'll turn it back over to you.
Thanks so much. Now I'll keep going on. Some of the things that beyond just making sure that the communication to the whole team was in place, one of the other things that I did was just little touches with the team, right? It's a little as simple as we have an internal chat system called Slack. A lot of people are familiar with it. It's a team chat system, and I just ran through the list and said, hey, how are you doing? How are you doing? And all I wanted to know was, how are you doing? Not how's your job going? I was curious, how's the family? How are you guys doing well through this? Because we're not in the same office. I can't walk down there and say, hey, how are you doing, right? We're all remote. We've been remote since this whole thing started. And so just letting them know that, hey, I'm thinking about you, right? And so, and it's true. Diana and I, we've thought about each of our team members. We've prayed for each of our team members. This is a hard time. We know that, and it's funny, if you can do all that, if your team doesn't know it, they don't know it, and so just sharing, hey, I'm thinking about you, or hey, how are you doing? It shows them that you care. I think that's very, very important. It's easy to forget. It's easy to say, well, I'm busy trying to save everything, and that's fine. But you remember, somebody mentioned it earlier, employers aren't communicating it, and they're losing employee loyalty in a way that I would say, I would bet you the employer would feel would be unfair. They would say, well, that's not fair. I'm doing all these things to try to protect their jobs, and I'm losing their loyalty. Well, have you communicated it, right? Keith, I love you too. Thanks. So we love you too. But that communication aspect is so important. One thing, I did a kind of a social experiment a while back. I was in a group. You're not supposed to share anything about it. It's called SimSoc. If you've done it, you know. But one of the things that happens in this simulation, and again, I'm not allowed to share much because it's top secret. Did it through Lead Brevard, by the way. Shout out, best class ever. And in this simulation, you're put in this kind of simulated world, and what happens is you begin to learn about perception, your different ways of looking at things, right? And through it, there were some conflicts that happened amongst some of us. And afterwards, we were talking through those conflicts, and it was like, what the heck were you thinking? You did this, it was so wrong. And they're going, well, no, I meant this. And you were the one doing things, and it was just really interesting. At the end of it, there was a few of us that were really trying to do good in this simulation, this game that we were playing or involved in. And we all just had different perspectives. And the same thing applies in business. The same thing applies with a team, with family, with friends. I mean, it's ever since that day, I have a different way of looking at conflict, of communication. Okay, that's what I meant, but did they hear that, right? I could say something that to you, Nancy, means something totally different. And if I'm not careful, how often have we said something to our spouse that we thought was fine, that we thought it was actually maybe endearing on purpose, it was supposed to be nice, and they they thought it meant something totally, they were hurt, they were offended, maybe they got mad, maybe they got offended, whatever. And then you're like, wait a minute, maybe, because then what happens, we get upset now, right? So now we're mad that they're mad. And so it becomes this crazy cycle of everybody's mad at everybody. It's like the leading cause of arguments is this misunderstanding,
Mm-hmm.
And then you're like, well, why are you mad? After 2 hours of not talking to each other, like, well, you said this. I'm like, yeah, I said that. What's wrong with that? And then you dig into it and you realize that you use this word that to them means something totally different, and it's that perception. It's when I was a kid, I was taught to me a circle, square, triangle. You think circle, you say square, they heard triangle, and it becomes, next thing you know, the circle's a triangle. And so I'm spending a lot of time on communication, but it's so true, right? How do we communicate that? And so That's a
And
big
every
piece of it.
person, I think one of the things to note too is that every person has that different personality. You know, if you ever have done the Myers-Briggs or the True Colors or the DISC program, so, you know, when you're talking to those golds, they just facts, you know, they want to have, and they want to get right to it, that A personality. You've got those greens that need a million details before they can make any decision. There's never enough information. And then you've got the orange that are like, woohoo, let's go, we're ready to go without all the facts, and, you know, jump right in. And, you know, and then you've
True.
got the blues who are sensitive, you know, how is this going to affect everybody? How do we look at this? Like, have we thought about everybody? Have we checked in with every, you know, so what you say is interpreted so differently, just even by the different personality types. And, you know, as you mentioned, sometimes you think it was perfectly clear and then they totally misread it. And sometimes, I mean, with your spouse, sometimes it's a little easier, because if they don't talk to you for a while, then you know you've done wrong. However, in the work environment, right, you know, and especially remotely, I mean, you don't know. And so doing that check-in that you said, or, you know, making sure that they understood, because sometimes I'll look back at things I've even typed or texted to people and I went, well, I could really interpret that a couple different ways. So let me, you know, and I do a few more lines, you know, I'm hoping that I'm making this clearer. Sometimes I'm making it worse. But yeah, you know, like you think you're being clear and it just gets worse and worse. And I'm like, okay, yeah, let me just call you, because I think none of this is making sense. But yeah, really being cognizant of that, because yeah, each person has a different personality style, and they'll hear information differently and take the information you're giving them in a different manner. So I think that's also important to look at, you know, your delivery and knowing your employees and how their personality types are.
100%. You got to think too, so to some of those personalities, that group announcement that I made in that group, that was awesome. That was like, he loves us, he's got our back, we got this. To some of them, they're like, man, doesn't mean anything. They told everybody that. But then when I reached out personally, that meant a lot to them. And then to others, I reached out personally, they're just like, why is he telling me this? You know, because they're just different, right? And I'm not saying any of them, none of them were disrespectful. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying in their head, I promise you, there are some that were just like, oh, he reached out personally, oh well, you know. And some were like, that meant the world to them. And that's good to know about people, right? People receive differently. Same thing with your spouse. Everybody receives love this differently, right? And this isn't a marriage counseling talk, but the way you express love or receive love is different. The way we receive communication or express communication is different, right? And so one of the other things that I thought was really important as we kind of navigate the leadership aspect of this is, you can say all of this stuff, you can say we're going to move forward, ever forward, right? But how do you demonstrate that, right? And that was, we did that in a few ways. We did that by making the pivot quickly to remote. We instituted Monday morning check-in calls where everybody's on the call. We actually are asking everybody to have their video on so that they're engaged. We're talking, we're laughing. You know, you do a call with no video, and you know, it's okay. You put the video on, and people are making fun of each other. They're saying, "Put your laundry away." You know, is that a cat? Show me the cat. You know, I mean, you have a ton. It's way more fun, right? And so that part of it, keeping that going. We said we're going to post on our social media 2 or 3 times a day now. And let's just be, and that was actually a marketing thing as well as an internal thing. We started sharing work from home workstations and having everybody send their pictures. And then we said, share your work from home new team members, meaning pets and family members. And so people are sharing that. And you know, if you check out our social media, you'll see that we're sharing that and having people vote on which one's better. And we're about to start sharing work from home work outfits, which be ready for that one.
Is this where you don't stand up, because from the top up it looks great, but below, who knows what's happening down there?
You think I'm wearing a full suit right now, you'd be mistaken.
That's funny you said about the teammates, because I keep posting, you know, I'm from my balcony and I'm seeing sharks go by, I've seen dolphins, I've got all the birds, and it's like, yeah, these are my new teammates.
My new team, you know.
Yeah.
and that creates a normalcy, it creates energy, and it's as much for our team as it is for our clients and the community. Right. And then what we also did was we said, we're not going to forget our community through this. Right now it's hard. you know, I'm a very big believer in giving is a God-given responsibility. We're to give, we're to serve others. And in difficult times, uncertainty, it's hard to give. You want to keep, you want to protect, you want to, and it's then we need to give even more, is my belief, and something that we've tried to adhere to even with RPS. And we said, all right, we're going to give. We found causes to give to. We found, you know, and we found causes that we could help by getting the word out. And so you'll notice every day we're posting a different nonprofit. We're posting a different thing going on, different ways people can help in the community. And it's 50% of our marketing communication right now is here's how you can help Brevard. And not only here's how you can do it, but we've helped in some way. Now, I will say I haven't been able to donate to every single one because I think we've posted 12 different nonprofits already, but we are doing our part. We're trying to give back. We're trying. And that's something that, again, is just as much for our community as it is for our own team. Show the team, listen, we're so sure that we're going to get through this. We're so confident that we're moving forward, that we're going to give back, that we're going to do some things for people. Diana and I have continued to give through this. And I'm not saying that to say, oh, look at me, I'm great. I'm just saying as a leader, if you want your people to continue onward and continue to move forward, like things are not normal, but life is going to go on, then you need to be willing to knuckle down and do it too. Right. And
I
again,
also think it's important to give too, because there's so many more people in need now. And,
100%.
you know, like the sharing center and a lot of the food pantries are experiencing shortages. And so at this time, yeah, it really is important to make sure that we're supporting our community because, as they say, we're all in this together. So we're only as strong as our weakest link. So we want to make sure that we are supporting the community and getting the word out there. We've been trying to share that as well. I know the Sharing Center is a big one. St. Vincent de Paul, they're trying to really work with the homeless camps and Tom Redman. And so, yeah, if people are wondering, so great. So Josh, your Facebook page, is it Rock Paper Simple, or where would they see these?
Facebook.com/rockpapersimple, super easy.
Okay. Perfect. So yeah, we just want to make sure that we're getting the information out because people are looking for that. And we haven't posted tons of the needs as we get the information in. We are sending that out. But you can imagine as it gets more and more difficult and people aren't working, and it does take time, even with unemployment, to get your checks. And there's going to be much more people needing just basic necessities. So 211 Brevard, I'll do a shout out right now. 211 Brevard is a great resource to be able to call to see where you can get assistance with FPL. They have actually some money that they were putting in a local fund to assist people. And so we really want people to know the resources that are there, and they have probably the most up-to-date information in the county. So 211 is a great one to reach out to.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Love Inc. Oh, hold on, we've got a couple more who may Love Inc. and their initiatives. From Cindy Hunt. Oh, hey, Cindy, joining us. I believe people feel ownership in the community they work for in their, the company and they work for in their community. And that's very true. Beverly said Homestead Senior Care and Rotary Club of Palm Bay is supporting St. Vincent de Paul. Two people are going to need more help going forward. And yeah, absolutely. So thank you all for your comments. Sorry, we kind of are a little squirrely on Chamber Chat. We're looking at our feeds and then get back to you, and so I'll turn it back over, Josh.
I actually have that chat right here too, so I do see them come in. So Denise did mention who she can send that to. Denise, if you just want to message our Facebook page, we'll be happy to share what Love Inc. is up to with our audiences as well. So just go ahead and just hop on our Facebook, message that to us, and we'll share that. We'll get that in the queue. But one thing I was going to say was, there's this attitude of, how do I want to say this? How we get through this how we come together through this is going to impact how we get through it, right? So how we come together through this will impact how we get through it, because it'll affect not only how strong we are as we go through it, but it'll also affect how close we are afterwards, right? So a crisis can bring a team and a community together if we lead well through it and we treat each other well through it. And that's just a big piece of it, right? So that's a big aspect of it. I will give some shout outs. You've got some great ones we've shared about. Hospitality Life is serving people in the hospitality industry specifically. I know they're doing meals at six different locations. I actually think right now they have the ability to serve more. So maybe look into Hospitality to Life. They do have a website. You can check them out on our Facebook feed. But they're feeding a lot of people right now. It's one of the ones we've given to and we're involved with. Brevard Rescue Mission is doing a lot of awesome stuff. The ladies there are sewing masks for people. So they're looking for elastic and fabric. You can help them out. Junior Achievement is continuing forward, teaching kids financial literacy even through this. And so they're asking for professionals to do online videos, to share with the kids virtually. I've done one. I would encourage others to do so. Carroll Distributing is stepping up and providing meals for people in the food industry, food and beverage industry. I know Children's Hunger Project is working with Brevard school system to feed kids. Brevard Alzheimer's has decided to go out, deliver meals, and help others. So the list goes on. Sharing Center Brevard is one we share, right? So the list goes on all of these people that are out, and there's a huge way to give now. So if we're feeling locked up, we're feeling, there are ways we can help for sure. So I'd say making that part of our endeavor, again, like I said, it's big because it's us giving back and helping our community. And I think a leader, business leader, is more than just generating some profit for their company. It's what impact are you making on your community? Something that I've always believed is important. Some of that comes from my faith and my background. I believe that a leader is not just tunnel vision on what their goals and objectives are. I believe a true good leader, business leader, should impact those around them. But I think all of that helps you lead. And it says, okay, you can say, well, Josh, how does giving back help you lead? Well, you're leading by example. You're showing that we're going to move forward. And so if I were to kind of circle back to all of it, it's know what you want to say, having a plan, knowing your budget, knowing where you stand, being empathetic, and knowing what does my team need to know? How does my team feel? And then communicating early, communicating often, being transparent, checking in on each of your individual people. And then when you move forward, do it. Don't just say, hey, let's move forward. And then, we announced an acquisition today. We were a little torn. Like, do we wait till all this blows over? Are people going to be distracted? Maybe we should wait. Is now not the right time? You know what? We're moving forward, right? We're going to keep going. It's not done out of any insensitivity, obviously. I mean, if you look at our social, you'll see we're plugged in. We're not toned up. We hear what's going on. At the same time, what's best, I heard this, a colleague of mine posted this to his client base, or an agency up in North Carolina. And one of the things he said is, we believe the best thing we can do for our clients in our country is to keep going forward, to keep serving well, to keep providing jobs, to help our clients provide jobs, to keep going forward. And I believe it's true, right? So that's a lot of what I had to say. I hope that was helpful. I don't know, Nancy, if you have questions, or if others had questions, or how we want to kind of tackle that.
Okay, well, let's do another shout out to everybody. And then if they have any questions, there is the chat room. So those of you that have not typed anything in and have some questions of Josh, please feel free to type in there. And I'll go through the list as you guys are getting ready to type. I've got Barbara Vanilla. I have Beverly Squires Wiggins. Cindy Hunt is on with us as well. We have Debbie Messenger, Denise Olson, we have Diane Bryson, and Geraldine Blanchard, Jeff Keel, Jennifer Helen. Oh, Seniors Helping Seniors. That's a tough, she's those seniors going in to help seniors. I think that's one of the age groups that is really hard hit by this whole coronavirus, and the fact that the seniors that she has working for her are trying to stay home. And so, but yet, she's trying to reach out to her customers. So, hats off to Jennifer. We have Jennifer Valier, Joe Rowlett, Keith G, Ravisa, Sherry McCollum, Terry Brandt, Tom Fulmer, Trudy Trudell. So thank you all for being on there with us. If there's any more questions, anything on Facebook, Carolina, that has come up that we missed?
Yes, I just want to update the list of people that have been with us this afternoon. Caroline Cook, I already said, Janice Fox, Tom Macarello. He joined after I said the other
Oh, he's late.
list. Tom Filmer said there is a great time to get some systems in place that will help you now and in the future. He was talking about a tool that is called Slack for team communication. So maybe somebody wants to explore how that works. Kaori Fisher is with us as well from Edward Jones. I mean, the chat has been very busy because people are interacting right now, like, hey, we need to catch up. I miss you. I have not seen you in ages. So
Great.
it's very nice because they are planning to have video calls right now. And Kaori mentioned something about another, it seems like it's another software that maybe can be used. We're waiting for her response. But finally, Caroline Cook said she's from Candlelighter of Brevard. She says, donors have stepped up to provide an extra financial support check to Candlelighter families in the battle against pediatric cancer. Thank you to this amazing community.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, I think the community support is unbelievable. So I also wanted to say the numbers. I typed it in for the panelists. We'll get it in on our Facebook page, but just one more time for the local SBA number, it is 321-433-5570. And for We Venture, which is also a division of the SBA, 321-674-7007. And these guys are on the front lines to help with the loans, the payroll protection, it's not ACT, it's PPP, you know, the bridge loans. They really do have information on all of that. So I would recommend to reach out to them first so that you ensure that you're making the right decision for your business in which loan and grant that you're going to apply for, as most of them are loans, and you want to know if after a year the interest rate goes from 0 to 12.75%. That's an important figure to know. So make sure that you're informed. We do have a lot of this on our website. It is under the COVID-19 banner, and we are updating as we get the information. Most of it goes immediately on our Facebook page, since that, I mean, it's really hard to scroll through all of that now because we put so much on there, but closures go on there. They're closing down the times for when the dump is open. Just things that you might want to know, beaches that are closed. It's really the great way to get information, but reach out to the local resources. All the chambers have the information, and it's called the Brevard Business Community. You'll see the logo with the little houses in all the chambers, and local community leaders are part of that. So the EDC, We Venture, all of that, we're all working together. I think the tagline was, we're all in this together on the Space Coast, or stronger together on the Space Coast is really what they're calling it. So I think with seeing all this heartwarming news about people supporting the charities that are really in need and working with each other, it's just great. So thank you all. I really want to do a shout out to Josh Adams, because he always has such great information. And, you know, when I said, hey, would you like to do something? He's like, yeah, what about this topic? I'm like, perfect. So always appreciate that he's willing to step in. He truly is a leader in our community. Wiederman Malik, our sponsor for Chamber Chat this month, they are available for you to reach out to if you want other assistance for, oh, there's their flyer again. So their number is 321-255-2332, and their website is uslegalteam.com. You can reach out to Eric Hostetler or one of the other attorneys at law there. They are all very willing to help you out if you seem overwhelmed and are looking for a financial loan. I think the larger the loan that you're looking for, you really want to make sure that you're doing it correctly so they can assist with the SBA applications. So thank you to Wiederman Malik. And our next one then, no more chamber chats this week, but we will be having our multicultural, our a happy hour on Friday. It's from 5 to 6, and we'll have everybody on with us. So you'll be able to see everybody participating and be able to interact and chat, and bring your own happy hour drink and appetizers. Tommy, I'm sure yours are going to be amazing. So I will watch the video of your nice appetizers, and we'll all drool. But I want to thank you all, because I think part of what is just been so amazing to me is seeing people come on the chamber chats, seeing the interaction, the calls that I've been receiving. You can still call the chamber. The number is routed to my cell phone. So keeping in touch. I think that those that have just kind of shut themselves down will find it much more difficult once we get back in the swing of things to gear back up. So as Josh was saying, a lot of his customers are, continuing throughout all this. The same with our chamber members. Those that we see very engaged it's just a blip. They just are continuing to do what they do. They're continuing to network and be engaged. And so then coming through this, they'll be in a much better position on the other side. So we're here with you. Please reach out if there's anything we can do to help. There are some opportunities, like Weiderman Malik did, to sponsor a chamber chat. If you want more information, just call me or email me. It really is a great way to get your name out to more than just the chamber members, as I think the minimum views we've ever had on a chamber chat since it started is about 680, all the way up to about 2,300 views. So it's a great way to market your business for a very inexpensive price. We're doing this to really just help our members get their name out there. So thank you all for joining us on Chamber Chat. Any final word before we sign off there, Josh?
No, I would just say thanks for having me, and remind everyone, just communication is the key to all this. It's being prepared, it's communicating well with your team. And I think if you start there, you're headed in the right direction as far as a leader in a crisis.
Well, thank you so much, Josh. And thank you to Carolina, Carolina is like the rock star. And I so appreciate her skill set with making sure our chamber chats go so well. Technology, for those of you that know me, I really like it. I'm just not the best at it. I really try, but she just always makes it just seem so seamless. Whenever there's difficulty, she gets them all fixed. So I want to thank her and the team, Cindy, for joining us. And Pat, I know she's probably walking her dog right now. So, but I really want everyone to know that the team is here and working hard for you. So thank you all for joining us for this week's Chamber Chat. And don't forget to join us on Friday for our virtual multicultural networking group and our happy hour. So thank you all, and be safe. And we'll see you next time on Chamber Chat.